All right, so I think we're ready to get going. I think I just got a signal, right? It's 11 o'clock-ish. So welcome to the first session at I was going to say VMworld, at VMware Explore, right? Old habits are hard to break. So thank you all for jumping in and joining us for our first session. I'm Mark Gabrielski. Just calling it out, if you saw some of the notes, John Arashid was supposed to join me this morning. He ended up hurting himself this morning, so he'll be here tomorrow for book signings and other parts of the event, but he can't make it in this morning to join me for this presentation. But really, what this first session here is, I'm one of the managing partners of the IT Architect series. This is a book series that we created because we felt there was something missing in the world. And you know, you're all here at a conference, so my assumption is you're all here to learn something, right? And if we got into IT, we're in a career that if we're not learning something all the time, we are not going to really have a job or stand out or be marketable or, you know, desired by any of the other employees that we might ever engage with throughout our careers. So, you know, IT Architect series, since we're here at VMworld, I'm just going to talk and map certain things to the different skill sets, these different certification levels that exist. Anyone here that, you know, that's not familiar with it, just to call it out, you get your VCP, right? And that's the entry road to start really getting into the VMware certification track. At the advanced level, you get a little more challenges in either design or administration and deployment. And of course, the VCDX level, which is, you know, you can truly take on all of those skills and you can go in front of a C-level panel and truly architect an enterprise level solution. So we really try, I'm just gonna keep and map the different books that we have to these types of skill sets, right? And these types of certifications that we're familiar with. And one of the challenges we had as we started developing the concept of the IT Architect series is we wanted to avoid writing books that were particular to products. If you're doing a VCP certification exam, there's already material out there for all of the different tracks and the certifications that you can do. If you're, you know, looking for recipes or design advice, there's folks that do books that are specific to all the different versions. And then, you know, we wanted to try to do a book that was like this boot camp book about the approach to how you would go ahead and approach certification and how you would approach enterprise level design, or how you would, the logical approach to how you empower yourself and better yourself throughout your career, right? So the books that we have today in the IT Architect series, we started with the first one, and the Foundations in the Art of IT Infrastructure. And then we ended up with Designing Risk and The Journey, and we'll just talk about all of these really briefly. But really quick, if you want to get these books, they are available downstairs at the bookstore. And don't worry, that little bit.ly link will be on the next few slides too, so don't worry about rushing to write it down. And yes, you can still get them on Amazon anywhere. But our first book, this actually came out about 6 years ago. And it's actually still a valid tool, right? Because the way we wrote these books, yes, we do use vSphere 5 and we use vSphere 6.5 as examples. But really it's about how to approach conceptual design, how to approach logical design. And then you can take those items and map them to the physical choices, meaning a version of vSphere or a server vendor and a model. Because when I was going through the VCDX program in 2009, I had nothing like this to at least give me an example of how to get started and approach writing an architecture and design for any level of an enterprise. I had to figure it out on my own. Today, we have so many options. And in these, we'll have a VDI, there's a VDI design in there, as well as a server design. So they're antiquated. We don't keep it up to date on purpose because it's not about giving you a design. It's about showing you how you can go ahead and format something, what things that you would need to talk about, how you address availability, scalability, manageability, recovery. So it's a great way that we can go ahead and capture it. And right now we've been doing this, and all the VCDX programs, anyone who's approaching the VCDX, anyone who is, they will absolutely validate that this is a book that they value and have used. And this book here is actually really cool. A year later, we did two books. This is the first of them that came out in 2017. The Designing Risk in IT Infrastructure. This is something we do every day, right? Whether we're consciously aware of it or not. You're always making a trade-off. You can buy dual power supplies for a server. We're not, right? Save a few bucks. What's the trade-off? And this book is really focused on that and highlighting all the things that we might take for granted and not even know about, and how we design our solutions, how we implement them, and how we always make trade-offs, performance and cost versus risk. So this is a great book that highlights everything that we do on a daily basis. Now, the journey is a little more interesting. This is something that Melissa Palmer came up with and wanted to share. She's also a VCDX, and while she was doing this, she's one of those individuals that keeps everything in a notebook, all of her notes. So she's had years worth of notes about how she did different things, how she grew herself in her career. She started as an admin and worked her way up to an enterprise level architect. And it's about her journey doing that, how she reached out, how she overcame her fear and just, reached out to someone to be a mentor, how she was responsible for server support and yet reached out and started working with the network teams and the storage teams on her own time so she could learn and widen her skill set and move up in her career. So she does a lot of cool things and also gives you some tasks lists, worksheets to do, and goals to set. And the other thing that she focuses on that is a soft skill that I think is super important is time management. She focuses on setting goals and managing your time, your expectations. And when you ultimately miss your deadline, how that's okay. Just go ahead and set your next deadline and do your ultimate best to go ahead and achieve it. Lastly, is one of the more recent books in the IT Architect series. So this is actually one of my favorites. Essentially, this book is a combination of 35 different contributors, senior architects, senior product managers, enterprise architect leads, the engineering staff. And what it's about, every single story that they've written, 35 different stories, is all about how they screwed up, how a project failed, how everything went sideways. And we wrote it, every story's got some common pieces. How the project is supposed to go, how it really went, which was wrong, how it affected the customer. And even if you work in a large enterprise, you do have customers. They're your different business groups, all right? How it affected them and how it had affected your team. So taking all that away, the most important part of that at the very end of each story is a lesson learned, right? So the goal there, if you're at the junior level and coming in at a VCP level and looking to better yourself, hopefully we can save you all some pain. And you can avoid making the same mistakes I did or any of the other 34 folks that wrote a story for this. And if you're a senior individual, this is a great book because it's a bunch of flashbacks because you've done all of these mistakes yourself. And it's just a good way to smile and just go, yeah, I'm glad I don't do that anymore. And just a weird fact, this is Alan Parson has a band called the Alan Parson Project. He saw this cover, and this is now the cover for his latest album. So that's just kind of a cool thing. Coming out later this year, probably by VMworld Barcelona, is the same continuation of stories from the field with the same background, the same goal, right? To tell stories about things that have failed. And more importantly, to get that lesson learned out of the end of it. And yeah, if there's 2 volumes, yes, I'm making it a trilogy. So if anyone here feels that they want to actually go ahead and actually get published and do things, I'm going to stick around. Reach out to me. We'll find out a way. If you're really interested, we'll contribute a story. We'll help you out. And if you've never done it, we will help you out if you have that interest and you want to go ahead and tell a story, share it with the world. So I like to keep things short and sweet. I'll be sticking around. We can do Q&A. But I know they have surveys. Please take your surveys, critique me. Don't say my hair was flat, and I'll be all set. And thank you guys very much for giving me your time today at your very first session in 2022 at VMware Explore. VMworld.